So I see women on this app like crashing out because of how horrible like their ex-husbands are, their baby dads are, just like ruining their life and just, making their life so difficult. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so horrible what those women are going through. And now I'm one of them. I filed for divorce 2 months ago. I've been trying to look for an apartment, and the places that I'm looking at, I need to make 3 times the rent to be able to rent them. And unfortunately, with my job, I'm a CNA. I don't make 3 times the rent. So I need a child support order to be able to add to my income so I can meet the requirement. And I've been trying to get into some sort of settlement with my soon-to-be ex-husband on that. And basically, when I told him, like, I need to try and stay in the district so our kids can keep going to their school, and the neighborhood that we're in is a little bit more expensive, so I need the child support order. And he said, it's not my problem. It's not my problem that you can't afford a place for them to live.
She's the one who chose to leave, but for some reason he is expected to fund her new lifestyle. I suppose she's unwilling to let go of the comfort he once provided. From what she just mentioned, he should cover the cost of a new property in the same neighborhood so their children could remain at the same school, but that's not how life works.
I want the kids to see that you can't afford for them to live in a nice place. And I want them to know that they're going to have to go through a hardship because of what you did. Your pressure campaign that he's been putting me under for the last 2 months since I filed is really him trying to get me to drop the whole thing. I honestly believe that. I honestly believe he just wants me to drop the whole thing. If I went to him and I said, okay, I'm just going to drop the divorce, got rid of my lawyer and then didn't do anything, I think he'd drop his lawyer and we would just go about life like before. I honestly believe that. I just think he doesn't want to not be married anymore to me. Not because he loves me or anything like that, but just because this is a big inconvenience to him. It's a big inconvenience, and he has to do all of these things he doesn't want to do, and all he wants to really do is just go to work, come home, play video games, watch some corn, and nap. And I'm disrupting all of his plans with my annoying, irritating divorce.
Did you notice she didn't have anything negative to say about her husband? The best she could come up with was that he goes to work, plays game, and sleeps. If there had been serious issues, like infidelity or anything of that nature, she likely would have brought them up. And that makes me wonder, what's happening with this generation? She just described the kind of man many women would consider a good husband, someone devoted to his family, a guy who is not spending nights at clubs or bars looking for excitement. But she still filed for divorce. And to make it more interesting, she expects him to fund her new lifestyle.
This is very long, but I'm hoping that a woman's going to see me, see what I'm going through, and say to yourself, I don't want to go through that. And it could easily be me, because it could easily be you. I am not special. I'm not special or unique. I'm just a woman. I'm just a woman with 2 kids. What could happen to you, too?
Go get a job just like he did. Why do y'all feel the need to leave and want to leave with something that ain't yours? You crying over something that ain't yours? He doesn't owe you a thing.
Making their life so difficult. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so horrible what those women are going through. And now I'm one of them.
Let me try to understand her perspective. She chose to file for divorce but can't afford the bills. And somehow he's the one making her life difficult. How does that make any sense? From her point of view, he's causing problems simply because he won't fund her new lifestyle, and that's what makes their case even more interesting. As adults, we're responsible for our choices and anything that comes with it, and that's the part she is not willing to acknowledge. You don't make a life-altering decision and then blame someone else for the challenges that follow, especially when it comes to divorce.
If I went to him and I said, okay, I'm just going to drop the divorce, got rid of my lawyer and then didn't do anything, I think he'd drop his lawyer and we would just go about life like before. I honestly believe that. I just think he doesn't want to not be married anymore.
Based on what she said, I genuinely feel sorry for this guy. I can only imagine what he must be going through at this moment. He seems like another good guy who's done nothing but work hard for his family, only to watch everything fall apart around him. She said that he wants to be married as if that were somehow a flaw. But why wouldn't he want his family back? Is it just me, or does she really believe he shouldn't want to save his marriage? I find it hard to believe she thought it was strange for her ex-husband to want to stay committed to the woman he once took to the altar. I guess she's just now realizing he was serious about those wedding vows. This is a couple that didn't have serious issues. As we can see, they don't have any bad feelings towards each other. But for some reason, she still wants to leave, and then seems surprised that he'd rather stay married. The saddest part is that he probably still doesn't have a clear understanding of why his wife wanted a divorce in the first place. It seems like one of those cases where the wife files for divorce simply because she's bored or wants to try something new, as they say. And for some reason, she believes he should still be responsible for maintaining the lifestyle he once provided. She expects his financial support throughout the process. This feels like another example of someone who watched too many TikTok videos related to divorce, and it got to the point where she decided to follow the trend herself.
I met a family law lawyer, a divorce lawyer, last night at a party, and I had such an interesting conversation with him because he finalizes so many divorces for people. I'm constantly saying, why is everyone and their mother getting divorced? He said that the divorce rate is 70%. I always heard that it was 50. I've heard on podcasts that it's 30. I don't know. I asked him, why do so many people get divorced? He said that 95% of the people are with the wrong person from the beginning, and they don't want to admit it, and they get too deep and too far. He said this: so many people are afraid of flying, and there's like he said this, 1 in 11 million chance of your plane crashing, right? People are still terrified to go on planes. They need to take Xanax and freaking whatever else to just go through the flight, you know? What if the chance of the plane crashing was 70%, like the divorce rate? Would you still be getting on that plane? And that was his question. Why are people still getting on the plane knowing that there's a 70% chance of that plane crashing?
That's a valid point. People continue to get married even though they're aware of how high the chances of failure are. But I think it all goes back to the dream many of us have had since childhood: the vision of a united and lasting family. Unfortunately, times have changed. Marriage no longer carries the same weight or sense of commitment it once did, and that shift is clearly reflected in modern divorce statistics.
And it was really interesting. I mean, he honestly was just saying that I think marriage is extremely outdated and it needs to be updated. And he was telling me about how prenups in California don't even work. You could have like a perfect prenup that separates everything and like outlines what everybody owes. But if the person, let's say the husband or the wife, makes 10 times more in 15 years, you can argue to the judge, like, when I signed this prenup, I had no idea that this person would be making this much more, and they will literally take the prenup and move it to the side and disregard it. So very interesting. I was asking him personally, like, oh, so are you ever going to get married? And he was like, no, I don't see a point of going through that contract basis. If you want to trap a guy and marry him, he can still leave you, and it just messes with your finances and with everything. So I'm just sharing what I heard last night. I want to get married. I believe in marriage, but I thought it was really interesting to hear this from a divorce lawyer.
Here's something else no one wants to talk about. A lot of people get married just because they want to have a wedding. I think people don't try anymore. Everyone is quick to leave too. That was a strong point. I understand that some couples are simply incompatible, and that can understandably lead to divorce. But in many cases, the real issue stems from people entering marriage with the wrong mindset. These days, it often becomes more about the wedding day and the social media posts. For many, marriage is seen as a status symbol rather than a lifelong commitment. They chase the title, not realizing that it's about far more than just appearances, and that's where the problems usually begin. If more people had a realistic understanding of what marriage truly involves, we'd likely see far fewer divorces, and that's just the truth. Also, if we had the chance to ask those who are about to get married a few meaningful questions about what marriage actually means, the answers would likely reveal why so many are failing. It would become clear that their expectations don't align with the responsibilities and realities that come with marriage. That's the real disconnect. We also seeing a growing trend on TikTok where people share their divorce stories, and a large number of them say they filed simply because they were no longer happy. They entered marriage believing it would be a constant source of joy and fulfillment, not realizing that happiness isn't the sole purpose of marriage. It's a partnership that requires effort, sacrifice, and resilience from both sides, not a guaranteed path to eternal bliss.